What's going on, chat? Chat on YouTube, chat on locals. How are we doing, guys? As you can see right here, SpaceX has started their live stream. I apologize for being a little bit late. I'll explain that here in a second. Ooh, look at the ocean. They're spraying down the poop deck. All right, where you from? What you munching on? Of course, I'm Kevin, coming to you from Ohio, land of corn mazes. But not right meow, though. Cheers. Mars or bust. Mars or bust mug today. We got sweet shot with the popcorn. That's an appropriate snack for right meow. What's going on, Steven or Stefan, however you pronounce your name? Thomas, how's it going, Captain? Dude, I think we got some Master Chiefs now. I think we reached that 2-year mark with the super chat. So shout out to any Master Chiefs in the chat or just watching on the sideline. Here we go. Canada, gotta say hello to my Canadians, my neighbors to the north. Netherlands, Dutch. I'm from Dutch. Houston, Kentucky. Thank you very much, Andrew Brown. Good to see you, Cap. Reefer, Maine. Cheers. Indiana, Austin. Admiral. Stephen Admiral. What's going on, Michael? Good to see you, brah. Call me Unky Kev. Shoots from West Virginia. Awesome. America. There's Stumps. Master Chief Stumps. How's it going, Stumpy? Hello. Thailand. Very distant neighbor. Switzerland. How's it going, bras? How's it going, bras? What's going on, locals chat? I see you two over there. Jiff. Morning from San Francisco. Oh, that's rough. Mokes. You must be the East Coast Canuck mentioned earlier. Coffee and cookies. Oh, the cookie sounds great. I still haven't had coffee in my lifetime yet. And Keith Mabe is in the locals chat as well. Okay, again, we got Jessie here hosting the SpaceX live stream. We'll get to her in a second. So the reason I'm running a little bit late is it's been kind of a rough morning. My morning started last night when I fell down the stairs. It happens to me more than you would think. All right, slipped, fell down the stairs, bruised my coccyx. So I woke up a little sore this morning, but I was like, dude, I need to get my workout in. So I was like, I have time to squeeze a workout in. Kind of, but not really. That's why I'm running a little bit late. Dogs weren't much help. They were being very needy this morning as well. So we're off to a little bit slow start, so I apologize if I'm a little scattered-brained this morning. Didn't really have much time to prepare. So it's going to be a great show. Okay, let's go full screen here. Whoosh. Luma wipe. Fancy. SpaceX.com/launches. Make sure you give SpaceX a like. They could use the love. It's not like they're not popular enough, right? So this is a Starlink mission happening out of the Cape, Slick 40. The big issue with this launch, though, is that this is the 11th flight for the booster, which is record tying. I think one, maybe two times before they launched to 11, but I think it was just one time before in December. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. It's hard for me to keep track of these things because my memory is terrible. Here are the previous missions this booster supported. This will be its 6th Starlink mission. And the fairing halves are pretty seasoned as well. This is the 4th flight for both fairing halves. Nice. Keep on cruising, cruiser. Get the little timeline of events here. This mission will last over an hour when they'll deploy the Starlink satellites. But with this, with these launches to the 4th shell, we haven't really gotten able to see the deployments. So there's a chance we might not see the deployments. But the good news is we do have Starship. Nice. We'll be covering this in tomorrow's sode. We do have a segment of Elon's base twats for today. I'm excited. Got quite the list of Elon's base twats stacked up and ready to go for this episode or for this live stream. I apologize. I got dog hair floating around in my face. Hellfire. It's a good day to take it down. To Boomtown. Nice. And Tiberius Maximus, a fellow YouTuber and hopefully Rumbillion, I'm going to make that word up, is also in the super chat. What up, Kev? 11th flight with 20 more to go. Thank you guys for those tips. Appreciate you. Oh, yes. The Polaris program. I keep wanting to call it the Polaris Project. Don't know why. Just feel like that was like a movie title of an old flick. I'm not sure, but I keep wanting to call it the Polaris Project. I did reach out to Jared Isaacman that you just saw there on your screen, see if we can get an interview. I couldn't figure out a way to contact him, so I reached out on their Inspiration 4 website. Never heard anything. And this was like right after we had the phone, the media press briefing over the phone. Excuse you, sorry. And didn't hear anything back, so I was like, I'll just do it the old, or I guess it wouldn't be the old-fashioned way, it'd be the new way, just message him on Twitter, and he got back to me. So I'm looking to, hopefully we can get that interview set up. T-minus 4 minutes. Don't get scared now. That is a nice, it looks beautiful down there in Florida today. How's the weather, you Floridians? Ohio's pretty decent. It's pretty decent too here in Ohio. We got blue skies, not too many clouds to lick. There goes the strong back. Slowly inching away there with the claw. It's the claw. That supplies electricity and fuel to the rocket. But it don't need it no more for the most part. It's still connected with the umbilical up there, but that will detach once we have liftoff, and the strong back will further lean back. Strong back will lean back, lean with it, rock, yeah. We're on for this. I'll explain the new hat here after liftoff, after we have a little bit of cruise time under our belt. That's why I'm swatting the air around me. I have all this dog hair floating around me. I think it might be from the hat, because I think this might have been a canine officer's hat, but it might just be POP's or Kunu's hair. So it's hard to tell which. It's one of my morning rituals, or my pre-stream rituals, or before I do a video, I have to wipe all the dog hair off my hats. Because even though I have them resting on my mic in between shows, covering my microphones, still I get dog hair on them somehow. It's everywhere in this house. We won't have Doggo Cam up today, though, because, like I said, I was running a little bit late for this one. So they're locked out of the office. Man, what a nice view. She's smoking, which is completely nominal. That is supposed to happen. What's going on, Spartina? I see you over there on locals. Scroll up here. Ian's in the YouTube chat. Good to see you again, brah. So these record pushing missions, again, this is a record tag mission for the 11th flight for this booster. I spoke to some SpaceX employees a couple years ago, back before they even came close to reaching 10. It was like number 6 or 7. And they told me that the engineers always get nervous when they're pushing the limits. I don't know if that's still the case, though. I wonder if it gets easier for them or not. I haven't asked. See what we're talking about here. Look at that vintage. Oh yeah, let's hear that vintage.
Now, as I mentioned, you can see the white clouds coming from the transporter erector. Again, that is the liquid oxygen that we are venting out, clearing those lines on the transporter erector.
Erector. I got an erector set from my dad when I was a kid. It was a hand-me-down. Anybody know what that is? An erector set?
Falcon 9
That's old school. That's pre-Lego era.
And there's that call out that the Falcon 9's computers have taken over the launch countdown, just waiting for the final go from the launch director.
LD, go for launch.
And all
Launch
systems
director.
are now go for launch. So let's listen into the terminal count and watch as Falcon 9 takes our 46 Starlink satellites to space.
GameCube for life. Good to see you in the locals chat, dude.
30 seconds.
Justin had an erection set. Weather in Florida is beautiful today. It looks beautiful.
T-minus 15.
Let's go, SpaceX. Do this thing.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engines full power. Liftoff.
Full
Starlink
power.
4-8.
Get it.
Vehicle switching downrange.
M1B chamber pressure is nominal.
Lincoln logs were better. Now we're talking like the colonial era, aren't we?
Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station,
Power and telemetry nominal.
carrying our stack of 46 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit. Now, moments ago, we throttled down the engines, reducing the speed by decreasing the flow of fuel to the engine. That's in preparation for max Q, or maximum aerodynamic
Vehicle
pressure.
supersonic.
And we are coming up on max Q in a few seconds here.
Max Q.
And there's that call out that we've passed through max Q. Now we do have 4 events coming up in quick succession. The first will be main engine cutoff, or MECO, stage separation, second engine start 1, or SES 1, and then fairing deploy. So main engine cutoff is where all 9 of the M1D engines shut down to slow the vehicle down in preparation for the next event, which is stage separation. And that is where the first stage separates from the second stage. Right after stage separation, the first stage will start making its way back to Earth for landing. And while we are able to land the first stage, both on land and at sea on our drone ship, today we will attempt to recover
Looks like
the
a
first
stainless
stage,
steel Falcon 9
on
this,
today's
this
mission
camera
on
angle.
our drone ship, A Shortfall of Gravitas. Now, while this is happening, stage 2 will continue on its journey with the third event, which is SES 1, or second stage engine start 1. That's where the MVAC engine lights up and propels the second stage along with the Starlink satellites to orbit. And just a few seconds after that, we'll have fairing deploy.
MECO.
Main engine cut off, and do it. Do it, meow.
Stage separation confirmed.
There we go. Light it. Light it. Yeah, there it is.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And great views on your screen. We just saw MECO, stage separation, SES-1, and fairing deploy. On your left-hand screen is the first stage. Right-hand screen is...
Thank you very much, Jesse. So those fairings that they just jettisoned, those will be reused because they're $6 million between the two of them. And the way they reuse those is that they deploy chutes. Once they re-enter the atmosphere, big old ram air style parachute, splash them down the ocean, then they scoop them up. I don't know if Bob or Doug are the one that's going to do it today. I'm not sure. On the left-hand side of your screen, you got the camera angle from the Falcon 9 first stage inner stage. It's looking down the rocket toward those big old titanium grid fins made of titanium, a single cut piece of titanium, about the size of a smart car. You also see poofs of the poofs of cold nitrogen gas for the ACS system, RCS system, orienting the rocket. Then the grid fins will kind of take over once it gets in the denser parts of the atmosphere. Use it to steer it towards the drone ship, A Shortfall of Gravitas, waiting to catch it, which is just insane. I like to compare it to throwing a dart out of a 737 airplane, just throwing a dart and then hitting the bullseye on a floating dartboard in the ocean below. It's still insane to me that they can make that work. And I remember back when they were attempting to make that happen, and I think their first actual official attempt at landing a booster out at sea, they missed the drone ship, but not by much. It was really close. It was right there next to it when it smacked into the ocean. But Gwen Shotwell was the only one in the control room standing up and shouting and clapping. She was like, "Guys, we came close." I guess she didn't expect to even come as close as they did. Anyway, that's the story I heard, if I remember it correctly. On the right-hand side of your screen there, you got the Merlin vacuum engine for the second stage, continuing to push the 46 Starlink satellites into their orbit. It'll be a while till they get there, though.
7th mission of 2022, 4th Starlink mission of 2022, and the 145th total overall SpaceX launch. We're just about a minute away from the entry burn start on the first stage. And the Merlin engines on the first stage are optimized for sea level. These achieve 190,000 pounds of thrust during ascent. That's when we lift off or fly towards space, and descent, and that's when we come back down to Earth. Now, the MVAC engine is optimized for 220,500 pounds of thrust in vacuum, and that's what you're seeing on your right-hand screen.
Master Chief TBN TX. Congratulations on the promotion, bro.
You can see those grid fins on your left-hand screen on the first stage. Falcon 9 is equipped with 4 hypersonic grid fins positioned near the top of the first stage. And stage 1 is using nothing but the grid fins for steering as it makes its way, as it makes its return back to Earth. That is until we light the center E9 engine. Then we can gimbal the engine to help guide the stage as it lands. Again, we're coming up on that entry burn here in a few seconds.
Yes, in real life, Navy, an admiral is much higher ranked than Master Chief. But in my chat, Master Chief is the highest ranked because that's who I have more respect for. Master Chiefs.
You can visually see that the entry burn has begun on the first stage.
Stage 2 continues to follow nominal trajectory.
Great callouts on stage 2. Entry burn.
Stage 1, entry burn shutdown.
There it is. It's just a 20-second burn, and as you can see and heard, the entry burn has concluded. Next up will be the landing burn, and that'll be the final burn for the first stage as it returns back to Earth. Now, for those of you who follow along, you'll know that the soot on the rocket indicates it's been flown before. The rocket-grade kerosene, RP1, used to fuel a Falcon 9 is carbon-based, so when it burns, it generates that soot. And as you just saw with the entry burn, the Falcon 9 vehicle flies through its plume, and that's how it generates the soot onto the vehicle.
Booster looks pretty clean, though, for 10 flights under its belt.
We are just about 20 seconds or so away from that landing burn beginning on the first stage. And as we touch down, we will also have SECO 1, or second stage engine cutoff 1, on second stage. So we should hear some callouts for that as we are landing on A Shortfall of Gravitas today.
I appreciate you there, TX. Come on, cams. Come on, drone ship cams. Stay with us, brah. We got to see this. Here we go. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Stage 1, leg deploy.
Look good. A little off target, but still close enough.
Stage 1, landing confirmed.
SECO 1.
Number 11.
And great news, we heard that Falcon 9 has landed, touchdown on A Shortfall of Gravitas. We also heard, there it is on your screen. Incredible view of the vehicle standing tall.
Orbit insertion.
And we also had SECO 1 as well as that call out right there. Let us know that we had a good orbit. Great news overall. We are now awaiting the deployment of our 46 Starlink satellites, which is scheduled to occur about an hour from now. Now, as I mentioned before, we won't have live audio or visual confirmation of payload deployment due to lack of ground station coverage. We will regain signal with our ground station at T+1 hour and 19 minutes. So for those of you who are interested, we will keep the audio-only countdown nets up on our YouTube channel, and we'll confirm successful payload deployment on our social channels. So that will bring our webcast to a close today.
Also signal Cape and Bermuda.
Our team at SpaceX would like to send a big thank you to the Range and Federal Aviation Administration.
Man, I wish they would keep the deck stream here going for the Octograbber to come out. We've never seen it actually, but who knows? Maybe it's proprietary technology or something. I've only seen like animations of it and photos from port. Be pretty interesting to watch it in action, though. So they're going to end their stream, like I suspected. But if you go to Starlink Mission Control Audio, you can listen in on behind the scenes stuff since they're not going to have visual coverage of it. Okay. What's up, Ben Dover? Good to see you back here, bro. Anyone else daydreaming about running guns into Canada? We're going to talk about Canada. I don't think we're there yet. Besides, there's this misconception that Canadians don't have guns. They do. They just don't have American guns. Talk about a fascist tyrant, though. Trudeau has certainly proven himself to be one for sure. He's waiting for him to start gassing his own people. I think that's next on the list, right? We're going to talk about that kind of stuff here in a second, actually. Before we get into Elon's base twats, I'll explain that hat here. So after the Starlink presentation in Texas, on my way to the airport, I stopped and had lunch the following day with an agent from the Border Patrol. So shout out to you guy. I don't want to say his name. I don't want to get him in trouble or anything, but he has supported the channel by sending me pics because Starbase is near his patrol area. But I had lunch with him and a SpaceX employee, and we had some pretty good stories to tell. It was fun to hear what these guys had to say. But he gifted me this hat, and I thought that was really cool. It's technically the lawyer wife's now, and also the dog's. She likes to put it on the dog. But I thought it was a really cool gift. He also gave me some awesome patches, and these are authentic. It's like he cut them out of some old uniforms or something, so I appreciate him. Really awesome. Shout out to my boys protecting our borders to the south, something the Biden administration won't do. They'll be sure to protect Ukrainians' borders, but not ours. Instead, they'll just let these known terrorists and cartel members be shipped around the United States to our cities in the dead of night on planes and buses. And shout out again to the SpaceX dude who we had lunch with. Really nice guys. And Lewis gave me this from Lab Padre. Let me take it out of its packaging here. If you didn't know, Lab Padre sells these collective coins that he has custom made. And I have a Star Hopper one and this one. I need to get the other ones. They're available on his website, but they're pretty dope, man. They're like, I used to get these kind of coins in the military. They're pretty sweet. This one's SN15. Again, if you're interested in those, check him out on his website, Lab Padres. Really good peeps over there. What's up, South Carolina, munching on cereal? Good for you. Mike Clark, Admiral Mike Clark, what's going on, brah? You should be getting a promotion soon. Christopher Cox, shout, let it all out. These are the things we can do without. Come on. I don't know if that's the real lyrics. I was born in the 80s. I think that song's from the 80s, right? At least it's pretty damn close. All right, so I think I'm hearing you guys. You want to start today's Elon's Base Twat segment. So let's go ahead and get into that. Elon's Base Twats. All right, Elon's Base Twats. Here we go. I guess I should have had the windows set up and ready to go, but we're basically there. Display one big. Again, this is going to take us back a few weeks at the beginning of the month because we haven't had a live stream. And we had technically I think it was like 3 or 4 launches like back to back in the same week, but one of them was delayed several days. So I had like 6 live streams in a week. It was ridiculous. Fiery Waco. Honk, 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 honk. Okay, so let's start with the first one since our last Elon's Base Twat segment. So if you haven't heard, in California, they had these, I don't know if they still have the issue going on, but they had this issue of these I guess you call them professional thieves hitting trains, modern day train robbers. It's not like the olden days where those train robbers were badass. No, these people are quite pathetic. They just cut the locks on these trains in California, and they loot Amazon boxes and stuff and just leave the trash on the side of the rail there. And the reason this is happening, make no doubt, is because Gavin Newsom sucks at being a governor. And, you know, the Dems over there over the past year or two have been totally lax on crime, which is why crime has skyrocketed and murder has skyrocketed through these Democrat-run cities. So Elon's calling them, you know, amateur thieves, which they are, you know, it's cutting locks when no one's looking and then jumping off the train when it's probably moving 2 miles an hour. And then you got professional thieves, GoFundMe, and this is in context with how GoFundMe cut the support for the Canadian truckers, right? GoFundMe was more than happy to help bail out BLM activists who were burning cities down and even committed murder. More than 26 people died during the BLM riots during the Summer of Love. No, that's cool. And, you know, Chop and Chaz occupying Seattle, downtown Seattle. That's all fun and good for them. But, you know, peaceful trucker protests in Ottawa, no, that can't happen. So they froze their accounts, and they were going to actually steal it and give it to their own charities. But then public pressure made them actually give that money back. And so people started donating through Give, Send, Go. But then Trudeau, being the tyrant that he is, you know, he was all in favor of the Black Lives Matter burning down cities, but he couldn't have Give, Send, Go help fund the truckers. So, you know, they confiscated their money, froze their bank accounts, wouldn't let them fuel their trucks. If that's not fascism, then you don't know what fascism is. Donald Trump's a fascist. Why? Because he was trying to keep people out of our country. That's not what fascists do. They try to keep people in the country. He built the wall to protect our sovereignty. If you're going to call Trump a fascist and you won't call Trudeau a fascist, you live an upside down life. So New York Post, of course, whenever Elon tweets something saucy, the media likes to run with it, good or bad. I actually like the New York Post. They're one of the few media outlets out there that will actually report on the news. And I think they kind of got red pilled a little bit when their Hunter Biden laptop story was censored from Twitter. That was a huge deal, and that sticks with people. Elon confirming that he's pro-vaccination but anti-vaccination mandates. Well, I'm sorry, Elon, dude. According to the new definition of anti-vaxxer, you're an anti-vaxxer because they changed the definition months ago over the fall from anyone that is anti-mandates is now lumped in with people who are anti-vaxxers. So welcome to the party, bro. Elon is now anti-science, according to the left. I did a lot of videos on this on my Cloud Lurker channel for those of you that want more detail. More on the GoFundMe here. Double standard for show. He likes the Babylon Bee, as does most people because they're freaking hilarious. Trudeau demands protesters stop shutting down city so that he can shut down city. It's not even satire, dude. That's exactly what's going. What I would say what's going on, but it's kind of over in Ottawa now. Although it's not in other cities, and we'll talk about that. So this is when I try to stay positive, and I try to take things from with a sense of humor kind of point of view as best I can. But when we start talking about euthanizing dogs and stuff or confiscating people's pets, I can't help but get angry because I love animals, especially my dogs. And it's just sick. Like, again, it goes back to the fascist thing. If this isn't fascism, then you just don't know what it means. People have this misconception that only the far right can be fascist. That's not true at all. Look up the term red fascism. You know, even the dictionary defines it as like right-wing authoritarianism. It's not. It doesn't have to be right-wing. There are leftists that can be fascist. Case in point, Trudeau. Okay. So this goes to when they were arresting truckers, and a lot of truckers travel with their pets, if you don't know, and a lot of them had pets in their in their cabin with them down there. And during I keep saying down there, up there in Ottawa, during the convoy protest, and those that were arrested who couldn't do anything with their dogs, they were confiscating and then I guess euthanizing him after 8 days or whatever. Like, from the party that apparently loves, you know, the environment and animals and all that. This is the tweet that Elon got in huge trouble for. When I say huge trouble, I mean the hypocrites on social media just can't stand it. So you can call Trump supporters Nazis all you want, apparently, or Trump Hitler all you want, but you can't, you know, the people on the right can't do that when clearly the left is being a bunch of tyrants. It's hypocrisy at its finest. And this guy, David Froome, was called out for that hypocrisy by Elon himself. I guess he was slamming Elon for calling Trudeau a Hitler, but he did that with Trump, so it's calling out the hypocrisy there. Now, this is ironic. This is like the left these days doesn't seem to be able to see their own hypocrisy. They can't. They are irony incapable. They cannot see irony. They just can't see it. They can't see hypocrisy. They can't see irony. So on February 17th, that morning, Canada condemns Cuba's harsh sentencing following the July 2021 protests. Strongly advocates for freedom of expression and their right to peaceful assembly free from intimidation. We stand with the people of Cuba and their aspiration for democracy. You cannot make this stuff up. Just hours later, we had Trudeau's stormtroopers coming into Ottawa and literally curb stomping with horse hoofs, the elderly. All right. This woman right here is an old woman who just seconds before these horses came in and started pushing people down and stomping on them, she was saying, we're just here to peacefully assemble for our rights. You know, the old lady on her little mobility scooter thing. And following Ottawa police on Twitter was entertaining in and of itself to see fake news propaganda in real time. We hear your concern for people on the ground after horses dispersed a crowd, and that was the picture we were just referring to. Anyone who fell got up and walked away. We're unaware of any injuries. A bicycle was thrown at the horse further down the line and caused the horse to trip. The horse was uninjured. Okay, so they're referring to this. This lady with the bicycle, mobility scooter, she was actually hospitalized. Now, there was rumor going around that she was killed. Not the case. She was hospitalized, I believe, with a dislocated shoulder. So the no injuries thing there is fake news. Sorry, I guess it's not a lie if you're unaware of any injuries. Bullshit. They probably didn't do anything for her. She probably had to take herself to the hospital. But this is just the start of it. Police arrested protesters wearing body armor. They had smoke grenades, miscellaneous fireworks in their bags. Additional smoke grenades and fireworks were located and seized in a vehicle on Wellington. Here's the thing. They provide no images, no body cam footage of nothing of this. All right. Complete bullshit. But we do have pics taken from local media and like Rebel News of their cops shooting canisters of tear gas. Now, keep in mind, I'm a former police officer. I've done riot police stuff. I've shot these things, not at people point blank range, but during training, I've shot them. So this stuff is unbelievable to me. Like I said at the beginning when Trudeau first sent in these SS brown shirt stormtroopers, like in America, any cop who would do this kind of thing should have their badge ripped off their chest. All right. Again, former cop saying this. Your job is to uphold the Constitution. Again, I don't know much about the Canadian Constitution, but I'm pretty sure they have the right to assemble peacefully, and they had bouncy castles for their kids and stuff. It looked pretty peaceful to me. Anything contrary to it, I have not seen the proof for, including this wearing body armor stuff and having smoke grenades. These are the only smoke grenades I've seen. So this picture here is of this riot control officer shooting point blank range Alexa, who's a reporter for Rebel News, point blank range right in the leg. And I actually saved this video so you guys can watch it if you haven't seen this. Alexa's taking the video. This pisses me off so much. You fucking fascists.
Bring her out, come on.
Yeah, that's Trudeau's government right there. And here's the canister mark on her leg from shooting her. You're not supposed to shoot tear gas canisters right at people. All right, that's against protocol. Now there's an investigation against police brutality now for what they did, for what Trudeau's police did. Now I know it's the Ottawa police, but make no mistake, this is Trudeau's doing. All right, and the mayors as well. And their fascist fucking chief of police too. Fuck that guy. You're a disgrace to the fucking badge, you piece of shit. So Alexa's going to sue the city and the police. Good for her. They deserve it. Hope they burn the whole thing down. So things were getting out of control when they were trying to mop up the Freedom Convoy, and this Dominique girl asked Elon to, voice his support, which he had been doing. But after the whole Hitler meme, he kind of went silent for a little bit. You wish you could help, but at this point, it seems that voting at the next election is the remedy. And here's the thing: who would have guessed that voting in a beta male for office would result in that beta running, hiding, and then just sending in the stormtroopers? Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed? Fucking pussy. Trudeau's the biggest pussy I've ever seen in my life. Fuck that guy. So Terrence Williams, I don't know if you guys know who Terrence is. Terrence is a pretty funny dude, actually. He's a conservative comedian. I would label him a conservative comedian. And Elon tweeted below one of his tweets, Democracy has died today in Canada. Justin Trudeau is authorizing banks to unilaterally freeze accounts of truckers and people who support the truckers on the basis of suspicion alone. No court order required with legal immunity. Yeah, so Justin Trudeau invoked the Emergencies Act, which hasn't been used in years, decades, if it's ever been used. Totally fascist move to make. And I keep using that word fascist because, make no mistake, it is the most fascist thing we've seen in our lifetimes for any president to do. And notice the silence from all these other leaders like Biden and anyone else around the world. I think there was a country in East Europe. There was one of their leaders, I don't know if it was their president or not, did voice opposition, but that's it. All these other pussies are being quiet about it. And I apologize for all the cursing, but the paramilitary history in me is starting to come out when I see this kind of behavior. It's hard for me to hide my true feelings when it comes to this kind of stuff. So he invoked the Emergencies Act. His own countrymen said, no, you can't do that. So they can't do that, but he still went ahead with it anyway, freezing bank accounts. And this woman right here is just as much of a fascist as he is. And they couldn't actually arrest the truckers. So what they were doing, and this is confirmed on video by eyewitness interviews, they were arresting the truckers, transporting them 15 miles up the road outside Ottawa, and then just dropping them off because they knew they had no legal standing to arrest them. If you were to pick me up, the claw machine, pick me up out of 2019 and just drop me in 2020 where we're at now, I'd be like, what the hell is going on? This is so far beyond anything we could have imagined. Even a lot of us who were, calling out this authoritarianism is coming with the way things we saw the cliff, right? I remember doing videos on Cloud Liquor just over the summer saying the cliff is coming and people are running toward the cliff. Just stand your ground. Don't move. Let them run off the cliff. We're at the cliff, man. People are going full blown over the cliff right now. Elon, election time will be interesting. Yeah. And all of this nonsense. It's hard to keep in mind that all this Canadian trucker freedom convoy thing, all of it's about just these workers' rights not to be forced injected with a vaccine that hasn't undergone long-term studies. That's it. They just want the right to work without having a foreign substance and an RNA substance injected in their body that we don't know what it's capable of in 10 years down the road. And according to the FDA's own timeline for authorizing vaccines, they should have 7 to 10 years of long-term study before they authorize it. That's by their own website. I went over this in an entirely 20-minute video on Cloud Liquor. All right, you cannot dispute that. So that's all these truckers want, and that's what this is all about. Just leave us alone, let us do our job. All right, that is freedom. The opposite side of that coin, those who are trying to prevent that are fascists. There's no other way to describe them except for maybe tyrants, authoritarians, despots, whatever. I don't even know when election time for Canada is. Hopefully it's not too far away. In America, we have the midterms coming up, and that's looking like it's going to be a slaughter. Thank God. I will say, though, keep in mind, like, the tactic of the dishonest left, as we get closer to elections, is to try their best to rewrite history or make themselves look more moderate as much as possible. They did it with defund the police. Remember before the 2020 election, they were trying to say, no, it was Republicans who were saying defund the police during the Summer of Love and the riots. Like, where the hell did you get that? Everyone knows it was the Democrats and all these Democrat governors and mayors saying, do you need to defund the police, derp? And the Republicans were the ones saying, that's going to result in an increase in crime. And that's what we've seen. And so right before the 2020 election, they were trying to say, it was Republicans who wanted to defund the police. Like, how dishonest can these people get for real? So expect to see that. And actually, there is a tweet that concerns that. It might be this next one. No, it's not this next one. Which one is it? Anyway, there's a tweet coming up where Elon kind of addresses that, or somebody that Elon was responding to is addressing that. And it does have to deal with Biden and Tesla. So we'll get back to that point here in a second. So you guys know that Biden has been willfully ignoring the fact that Tesla even exists. And, we all have our theories. I'm pretty confident it's for more than one. One, Elon's been vocally critical, a vocal critic of the Great Reset and Build Back Better. And he's also, attacked Biden personally because Biden's an idiot. If you're still on Team Biden, then you're in the minority for sure. The guy's got less than a 37%. He's polling at less than 37% right now, and I'm sure that's a lot better than what it really is. Guy's a disaster. He's not there. Also, Tesla doesn't unionize. All right, their workers won't unionize, and of course, unions fund the Democrat Party. But Biden did actually acknowledge Tesla existence for the first time, like a couple weeks ago, but then he went right back to not acknowledging them. So February 11th tweet was after he acknowledged them, and Elon's still back at trying to, remind forgetful Joe Biden that Tesla does exist. And they are, in fact, the most made in America car. Model 3 is the most made in America car that exists. Elon's also been critical of Biden with the whole economy. Biden has been like a wife shopping at the mall since he's been president, just spending whatever he can as much as he can. For some reason, these Democrats have this idea that you can just money grows on trees. You can spend as much as you want. There will be no repercussions. Forget about inflation. It's asinine. Yeah, we can't stay on this course. There is going to be a huge financial disaster down the road. Who knows when, but it's going to be bad. Another meme Elon responded to from Turning Point USA. This is a recent tweet Elon just responded to this morning. And it reminded me of when the pandemic started. How can I feel good about bringing kids into this world given climate change? They're going to suffer so badly. They're going to be fine, lady. It goes back to this mass hysteria of the left. I will never forget when the pandemic hit, and it started spreading to other countries like early spring, late winter of 2020, back when I was still on Twitter and engaging with those people. And I'll never forget this guy, I think he might have been from Italy, and he was like full panic mode. We're all going to die, that kind of thing. And myself, I was just saying, why are you panicking? Panicking does no good for anybody. Just relax and prepare yourself. Just be smart. And Elon took the same stance, and people were coming at us so hard. That guy from Italy said, all I was saying was, just don't panic. There's no reason to panic. Panicking does nothing good. All right. And this guy goes, I hope your family dies from this kind of thing because you're not taking it seriously. I was like, holy shit. Like, these people are unhinged. And just like the pandemic, climate change is just another one of those things that the left has weaponized into a crisis to make people fearful. And when people are fearful, you can control them more easily. And it's all about control. If you haven't realized that by now, then you're not thinking for yourself. You're a victim of left-wing propaganda and mainstream propaganda. Like, if they can instill fear in you, it's easier for you to give up your rights, and they can control you that way. Like, I feel so bad for this woman. Like, how sad is it that this woman thinks that climate change is such a threat? Like, yeah, climate change is real, sure. Is it man-made? Is it environmental? The debate's out, but it's definitely not. It's not the as the Biden administration said. It's not the nation's number one threat. I think now they're saying it's right wingers are the nation's number one threat. But climate change is the biggest threat to humanity. No, it's not. Elon, the guy leading the way into renewable energy, even has said for a long time now, no, climate change is not a threat, but it's something we should start preparing for now. Work our way off of fossil fuels. Sure, I'm pro-nuclear. I've always said that from the beginning. Even Elon has come out and said now he's pro-nuclear. We looked at getting solar panels on our roof. No, we're not there. No, technology. Not only are all the solar panels made in fucking China, and these Chinese tech companies are all intertwined with the Chinese military, but the technology is not. It's not good. You got battery storage, which Elon's leading the way on that as well. Trust me, my wife works in energy law. She knows all about this kind of stuff. We're not there yet. So, yeah. This whole climate change, this whole Greta Thunberg thing, I feel so bad for her. Like, shame on her parents for putting her in that situation, Girl's freaked out. Darth Dabs. I like it. Kiv, love your channel. Appreciate those exclamation points, brah. Will J, don't apologize or hold back. Love your passion and what you provide. I know, I really got into curse words during my time, and I graduated 2 police academies, one open, one closed. So about 3 years total, because one I did simultaneously when I was getting my my undergrad degree. And between that and the Navy, swearing like a sailor, it's hard to break some old habits, especially when you're around team guys and in that whole community. It's a whole nother language of just curse words. Yeah, I appreciate you guys on local sharing your memes. It's they're always a great way to lighten the mood. I should just do that with these Elon's base twat segments. Just respond to all these Elon twats with memes. No, I didn't do Navy intel. Originally, I scored so high on the ASVAB, they were going to make me a nuclear technician. I don't know the exact name of the MOS, but I was supposed to work on nuclear reactors on subs, but I had a SEAL contract. So if the SEAL contract didn't work out, that's what the job they were going to give me. But so I did the SEAL thing, but then, I got injured, and the Navy was like, it was during those Obama years, and the Navy was like, yeah, we don't need you and your injuries. Please leave. So I did 2 years, 2 days, 2 months, and I was out. Yeah, trust me. I think you guys and myself we're on the same page with the climate change thing. The Earth changes, dude. The climate changes. It's what it's always done. Everything is changing all the time. The one constant is change, right? It's a universal law. And is it help? I'm in the camp that and I'm not a professional. I'm not a scientist on this thing. Full disclosure, I did teach out of the textbook in my earth science class for a couple weeks, this one topic of climate change, but I haven't really looked into it too much myself because I know it's not a threat. But so I'm in the camp that, yeah, the earth naturally changes, the climate changes, this is where I stand. It's definitely been hijacked from far left fearmongers who just want the power, like Al Gore. Oh, the earth, we're going to turn into water world in 10 years. That was supposed to be by 2010, 2012. And that obviously never happened, but he made a lot of money from it. How much is the sun creating that we can't control? Given there's history and the ice ages, it was global cooling back in the 80s. But at the same time, is it really helping pumping all these carbon emissions in the atmosphere? Probably not. No, I wouldn't say it's helping. Although, you're creating this greenhouse effect and creates an increase in carbon and plants love the carbon. They're actually growing better these years because of the increase in carbon. But, it's still, is it a good thing to pump all the carbon emissions into the atmosphere? Probably not. So I'm in the camp of Elon. Let's go nuclear, but let's work on the technology for sustainable energy, because when you innovate in anything, and goes back to the whole pro space technology argument, that why should we worry about going to space when Earth has all these problems? Well, it's because when you innovate for space technology, you use those technologies to benefit humanity here on Earth. And the same thing with developing, this green energy tech. As long as you're not, it's not corrupted like it is in Congress, where you have people like Pelosi investing in these green energies and making a pretty decent dime off of them, and skewing the market. It's not the free market when you have people in Congress who are participating in the stock market, giving themselves the advantage. That's not the free market. That's not capitalism. That's corrupt capitalism. That's socialism when you have government interference. So, and that's actually something that's like one of the few things that Democrats and Republicans can come together on now. And there's a bill introduced by both a Democrat and a Republican calling for Congress to not have the legal authority to, or their family to, trade in the stock market while they're in Congress. And everybody should be in agreement on that. And everyone is, apparently, except for those in Congress. Who would have figured? Nancy Pelosi, freaking corrupt bitch. Again, I apologize for the cuss words, but she is one. I mean, everyone knows it. Her and her $15 pints of ice cream, or $30,000 freezers. How you make that much money as a professional public servant your entire life. I'll never get over the whole Bernie Sanders thing. Yeah, Bernie Sanders, he's an advocate for socialism. The guy has never had an honest job. He's never been in public service. He's always freaking suckled at the teat of the American taxpayer, and yet he's a millionaire. Fuck that guy. People are so upside down, man. And it's Republicans too. You have Mitch McConnell. Fuck that guy. He's in the pocket of the Chinese. Again, seriously, if you watched my episode on Friday, I flashed a screenshot of the book Red Handed. You need to read that book, dude. He calls out both the left and the right, mostly the Bidens, because it's so obvious with Hunter Biden and their connections with the Chinese. It's insane how corrupt our leadership is. No wonder why China's winning so much on every front. It's because they have all these freaking elites in their pocket, dude. They're corrupt. Exactly, bend over. Yep. It's all about power and control. It's obvious to most people. And here's the thing, a lot of people have been seriously red-pilled over the past year, especially with this Canadian convoy thing. It's not over. Did you see that there are a bunch of protests happening now all over Canada, in Quebec? I don't know if they're actually bringing cars, but there's definitely marches again, and those never stopped. That's been happening all over the world since these mandates started happening earlier last year. They've only, by Trudeau doing what he did, he only strengthened I would say the right, but it's not just the right. I mean, people on the left are in these as well. That Lily actress, for example, who's actually trying to write Trudeau right now and talk to some sense into him, the girl from Ant-Man and the Wasp. But So it's not just the right, it's everyone who sees the fascism and is standing up to it. Like, by doing what he did, by sending in the stormtroopers, he has emboldened his enemies. And it's going to backfire. But he's such a fascist. He's such a beta male. He's such a pussy. He's not going to give in because his fragile little ego won't be able to admit to his wrongs. I know the type. I've seen him before. And he's already proven that much obvious. And here's another thing. Like, as more people are, quote, red-pilled, as more people see the fascism of the left here, don't forget those who have been right from the beginning. Like I said in a video I did on Rumble after the presentation, like, people have come up to me and said, you're right. Yeah, I see it now. Biden's a piece of shit. Fuck that guy. But in your own lives, those you follow on social media, those, friends, family you have, maybe it's you yourself. But if you are one of those guys or girls that went from, yeah, you voted for Biden, but now you see it and you've been woken up for real, don't forget those who have been vocal from the beginning. Like, because I'm trying, I don't want to say things that offend, because like, I'm proud of those who have woken up and can admit that they made mistakes and they were wrong. I respect that. But what I respect more are those who were right from the beginning, who had the mindset and the vigilance to see what was coming, because they were informed. They informed themselves, and they didn't vote for Biden, because that's why we have Biden, is because not only were people not informed, but they were lied to. So it's not 100% their fault. Like goes back to Twitter censoring the New York Post story on Hunter Biden's laptop. Like, that's not entirely their fault. That's big tech censorship right there. That's corporate fascism, right? So just don't forget those who have been right. And for those who have come out and changed their mind, I highly and heavily urge you to publicly make amends. Don't just do it privately and come up to someone and say, you know what, you were right. Fuck Biden, you were right. Do it publicly. Like, be a man or a woman and give credit where credit is due, because these people had a lot riding on the line and they lost a lot. And yeah. So just they say, thank a veteran, well, thank someone who was right, And if you're one of those people that still can't admit that, yeah, you know what, Trudeau is a fascist, Biden is an incompetent fucktard, well, we'll pray for you. I guess we can't really do much else with you, because you can't talk to those people really. Like, I'll never forget when I twatted on Twitter the story about Fauci funding the needless torture and slaughter of beagle puppies in these labs. Someone responded, "You're just a science denier." I'm like, what the fuck does that have to do with science? This is about ethics, you piece of shit. Do you not know the difference between the two? Like, these were not just the torture. This was not just the torture of beagle puppies. This was the needless torture of beagle puppies. That was not needed. There was not needed, and they still did it anyway. So fuck Fauci. It's those kind of people that it just brings the old saying to mind: never argue with an idiot or a moron, because they might be doing the same thing. Which is the reason why I don't twat on Twitter anymore. I'll twat to Elon. I'll comment on Elon stuff on Twitter just because I want Elon to know that, he's not alone, because I know what that feels like. People are out there. Most of us have his six, but Twitter's just so full. It's a liberal circle. It's not liberal. It's a progressive circle jerk. So I want to give him as much support as possible on that platform. But that's all I'll do. I don't want to, waste my time on Twitter going back and forth with these morons, because they might be doing the same thing. If we can't agree that people should have their rights, their inalienable rights listed out in the Bill of Rights, if we can't agree that needless beagle puppy torture is wrong, then if you can't see that Trudeau's a fascist from what he's done, but you'll call Trump a fascist for building a wall to keep the cartel out, then we got nothing in common. I got nothing to say to you, brah. Like, you're just so far gone. I'm not going to waste my breath. All right. You can come find me on Rumble or on Telegram or on my locals. And you can leave your circle jerk echo chamber and come to these other ones. You guys are just, yeah, True Social's coming out. It's already started for Apple users. I got Android, sadly. People are like, you guys are just building your echo chambers. What do you think your platforms are? Right? The reason why these are so popular, these alternatives are so popular, is because you guys are censoring free speech, you know? So that's on you, bro, you fucking hypocrite. I'm not gonna be able to monetize this video because I dropped so many F-bombs. Fuck it. Sorry, Mom. I was raised a Christian. Freaking military. Freaking police academies. Can't really blame it on those, though, because, you know, you get in trouble if you cursed out loud in front of a senior officer. Whole major A to sticking with the coffee and ever drinking the Kool-Aid. Keep it real, buddy. Hey, did you guys, maybe you guys know more about this than I do, because again, I've never had a cup of coffee, but did Black Rifle Coffee Company ever apologize for not watching Rittenhouse's 6? I think the backstory was Kyle Rittenhouse wore a Black Rifle t-shirt in one of the photos, and then Black Rifle came out and basically called him like a murderer or whatever. And so then they got a bunch of backlash, and when they were getting that backlash, one of their spokesmen said he was going to start doxing conservatives who were pro Kyle Rittenhouse. Did they ever apologize for that? Because I know they got a lot of stank for it. Because I was going to make Black Rifle my first cup of Joe that I ever drank, but apparently that's not going to be the case anymore. Minus living in Ohio, what is your biggest mistake in life? That's a good question. What's my biggest mistake in life? I definitely dated the wrong women in the past, but I still ended up with the right one. So maybe they weren't mistakes. Maybe it was all meant to be, but I don't know. There are some things, like, I don't really have regrets, but there are some things I would definitely do differently. Knowing that I'd get injured in the military, I'd probably do something else. I originally was going to be I wanted to be an F-22 pilot in the Air Force. I did a couple months of ROTC my freshman year at Ohio University. But then I saw that the women in the Army ROTC were doing harder workouts than we were in the Air Force ROTC. So I was like, this is gay, G-H-E-Y. I bailed out of there. And then I was going to join the Marines. I actually went to MEPS and everything, but I never signed the papers. And so I decided to go ahead and finish my undergrad. But before that, I was also going to join the Coast. I was going to join like every branch of the military, I think, at one point. I was even going to join the Coast Guard as a rescue swimmer at one point. And that was when I was actually in my first police academy. But I decided to finish it, graduated with my undergrad in Homeland Security and Terrorism. And my last 2 years in college, I actually had a contract for the SEALs with the delayed entry program. I think I'm the longest. I think I'm a record holder for the longest person who's ever been in the delayed entry program for the Navy or any military branch, because normally it's for 4 months before you ship out, just so they can get you prepared for boot camp. I was in it for 2 years because I wanted to finish college, and most people that finish college go into the military as officer. I went and enlisted because in the SEALs it's a little less competitive. It's easier to get in the SEALs if you're enlisted. That's why a lot of enlisted personnel on the teams have college degrees. But so I ended up going to the Navy with SEAL contract because the workouts were a lot harder than what the Army was doing. I'm gonna start butting heads with my fellow vets. But I really wanted to challenge myself, so that's why I went with that. But if I could do it all over again, I probably would have just stayed with Air Force and became a fighter pilot. Maybe I would have went. I almost went in the Navy as a fighter pilot as well, because after I got injured and I got out of the Navy, I wanted to get back in and this time be a pilot. So I had this officer recruiter I went to who said he could make it happen, and he had me take all the tests. I had to do the joystick and throttle simulation. Freaking aced it. Freaking aced the written exam and everything. But then the big Navy said, no, no, we don't want that broken boy. So I was like, damn, couldn't get back in. But again, all for the best, because if that would have happened, who knows, the lawyer wife and I might not be together right now, because we were dating at the time. Got my top secret security clearance through the Defense Intelligence Agency, but that was during the Obama years, and for reasons they have never explained. After going through the whole process, going to DC to do all that, they never actually put me in the position that they were hiring me for. This was like 2011, I think. So, yeah, I definitely feel like, as a Christian, you know, my path has been laid out before me, and there's someone watching over me that knows better than I do, for sure. Like, if you're not a Christian, you just don't understand. It might sound cringe or derp to you, but as a Christian, and my fellow Christians watching will know right now, like, you live life differently. You keep an eye open to see what the signs are, and how your life is, how your life is walking down these paths when there are multiple that you could walk down. But it's really interesting to see specific moments where you can say, yeah, that's not my call to make. That was God just leading me down this way, because, you know, you pray, God, just put me where you want me, lead me to do your work, and he'll do it. He really will. That's the story behind all my tats, all my ink. I'm a firm believer, you know, as it goes back to the Navy, everybody in the Navy's tatted up, but I always believe that if you're gonna ink your body, this should mean something pretty special. And so mine are all of a religious nature, and it has to do with that. I got stories, dude, I can tell you, like, just crazy stories about that, but I won't get into it here. I was gonna say, this is a pretty wild stream. We went from cussing out Democrats to talking deeply about faith. If there's any pastors watching right now, they might be like, this guy needs an exorcist. He's fighting some demons. Appalachian Ballistics, I appreciate the $4.99. Looks like you're at the range in that op, brah. Go Navy. Keith, are you former Navy? What's up, Justin? Dude, I keep seeing this meme. Or it's not really much of a meme, it's this picture. It's freaking scary, bro. Check this out. Let me pull up the second. I apologize for what you're about to see, but it's quite disgusting. Like, I want to throw up in my mouth right now. I might have just a little bit. It tastes pretty bad. I keep seeing it, and every time I see it, it gives me nightmares. Like, that is just so scary and gross. So I appreciate you guys continuing to share that picture and giving me these bad thoughts. Bleh. Why he mad at Democrats? Does anyone need to ask that anymore? I think it's pretty obvious to most people. And I've said this a billion times, but I might as well say it again in case nobody has watched previous streams. Like, I have friends that are Democrats. They're actually liberals. I watch, like, my most viewed Rumble person or YouTuber is Russell Brand, like, and Joe Rogan. Like, I watch Joe Rogan. He's not on those platforms. He's on Spotify. But these Russell Brand, Joe Rogan, they're not right. They're not members of the right. Okay, they just have been honest enough to look at all the facts, and they've come to their own conclusions. And Russell Brand will say, yeah, I'm not a left or the right, but he's definitely more in line with the right than he is the left these days. But he definitely didn't start out that way. It's just that they're honest. They're honest. They're willing to keep an open mind. Same with Joe Rogan. And so these are the people I watch the most. And I have friends who call themselves liberals, and I have no problem with liberals at all. I have a problem with progressives, because progressivism throughout the entire history of the United States, starting with like Woodrow Wilson, have proven themselves to be dishonest assholes. Like, they have just gone out of their way to destroy everything. It's messed up. And those are the people who are leading the Great Reset right now. And it's not something the rest of us voted for. It's something they're doing behind the scenes. They don't care about our input. And I just can't stand progressives, dude. They're the most dishonest people walking the face of the earth. Nothing wrong with liberals. I have liberal values with some things. For the most part, I'm like, do what you freaking want. Leave me alone. If the way the world is going, if it doesn't turn around, eventually I'm going to be this guy. I'm going to be the Clint Eastwood guy in his 70s and 80s living in a cabin by himself because the lawyer wife will probably leave me by then. And I'll just be like, you know what? The world is derp. It's stupid. I'm just going to live in my cabin out in the woods. And just leave me alone. But that's how I am on a lot of things. Like, if you want to, I used to be, back when I was in college and stuff, I used to be very, in the military, I used to be very pro, like, you know, we need hard rules on drug offenders and stuff like that. Now I'm like, after I've done my research, I try to have an open mind about it. I learned that a lot of guys on the team there's actually SEAL organizations that send former Navy SEALs down to Mexico to do like therapy using hallucinogenics. And it's like totally healed PTSD. It's crazy. You know, you do more than one session, but you can use mushrooms basically in a medical setting, supervised, and it's helped cure PTSD basically. And it makes a lot of sense when you compare it to what the VA's done in the past. They're just trying to get, you know, veterans hooked on these drugs, and veterans end up becoming homeless and addicted. Like, it goes back to Big Pharma. Is this good for Big Pharma? And it's just another conspiracy. But these days, like I said in Friday's episode, if you haven't dabbled in conspiracy theory, then you're just a fool, because you just yes, I believe what the MSM tells me. Yes. No, Pfizer is not profiting billions of dollars during this pandemic. Yes, ivermectin is just a horse dewormer. Okay, you're an idiot. Just keep listening to what Don Lemon tells you. And animal rights as well. Like, for as much as people hated Trump, he definitely had some. He definitely passed some bills that you would think the left would have been really happy about, like making it a felony to abuse federal animals. I guess that's how you call it. I'm a huge animal lover, although I'm not a member of PETA. I believe in eating tasty animals. I remember there was once this billboard. It had like a line of animals on it, from like chicken all the way to giraffe, and it was like, where's the line as far as consumption goes? Where do you? And someone like photoshopped a line, like a red line between dog and horse, or no, it was like between pig and horse, or pig and dog. They're like, right there's the line. You don't eat those animals. You can eat all these. That's the camp I'm in. Although I've said it before, I could never, like, I have members in my family that hunt, and I love to shoot guns, but I don't think I could ever shoot an animal. I mean, I could probably shoot a deer. I don't know, because they seem pretty dumb, staring at the headlights, and then you hit them. But I just love animals a lot. I've always have. I grew up with them, so I have a real affinity for animals. So I'd probably be a really bad hunter. My dad told me a story when he was a kid that he once hunted rabbits. He shot a rabbit once. The rabbit didn't die, and it was just screaming and screaming. And he told that story to me when I was a kid. So it probably led me to this place where I was like, I could never hunt, dude. I'd probably just starve to death or eat grass like a cow. Yeah. So I mean, I never would consider myself far right, but as far left as the left has gone these days, I think if you're not a member of the left, then you're basically far right, I guess. What happened to my locals? Let me get it back. Oh, I brought it over here. That's right. Nancy's still staring at me. Get off my screen, Nance. She's one of those politicians who said a few months back she wasn't going to run, but then changed her mind. My own governor, DeWine, who's a piece of shit, also did the same thing. He said he wasn't going to run, but word's getting out that he's going to try running again. I don't know where these freaking progressives get off on doing that. Like, just go retire, die in your retirement in Florida like you were going to, because you can't stand the draconian lockdowns that you implemented in your own cities. Keith is smoking rabbit today. My dogs love eating rabbit. I give them these little rabbit treats. And they chase the rabbit actually. So our backyard is fenced in, right? We got a vinyl fence up, and for the longest time over the summer, we couldn't figure out why the dogs were so obsessed with this area in our backyard, right underneath this overhang in our house. We were like, it's where our fireplace is. We're like, why do they keep sniffing under there in the backyard? And Carrie was like, well, I think we got a rabbit back there. I was like, hey, we can't have a rabbit back there. How did a rabbit get back there? We have this vinyl fence up. You can't squeeze through those slats. And I was like, maybe it's a mouse. Well, we just found out like a couple weeks ago, like Cooney was going crazy. He had his tail wagging. He was sniffing back there. I'm like, there's something back there. He's going nuts. And all of a sudden this rabbit just shoots out from underneath it, and both Piope and Cooney just take off after this bunny. So they're chasing it around the backyard. It's all fenced in. I'm like, this bunny's gonna die, man. And again, I love animals, so I'm like, oh no. And then Carrie comes running to the door, and she's freaking out because she might love animals more than I do. And I'm like, they're gonna get the rabbit. It reminded me of the scene in Snatched when they're like, $20, the rabbit gets fucked. Proper fucked. So like, this rabbit's gonna get fucked, and it's trying to find a way. Can't do it. The dogs are gaining on it. It just gets to the corner of the yard where the fence meets, and it just it gives up. It's like, well, I'm fucked. So it just stops. It's just waiting for the dogs to just come in and rip it to shreds. The dogs get there, and what do? They just start sniffing its ass. Start sniffing it. But then the bunny messed up. The bunny started to get a little edgy, like, what are these dogs doing? They're gonna, it's freaked out, obviously. So it starts to hop a little bit, and that gets the dogs all excited. So now they're starting to get a little bit more rough with the rabbit. So the rabbit starts running down the fence, and Carrie's like, Kevin, get out there, help the rabbit. I'm like, there's a foot of snow on the ground. What am I gonna do? I run out there in my freaking, I have flip-flops next to me. That's all I have, and it's all happening so fast. And Carrie, I guess, doesn't care about my health or well-being. She wants me to dive into the snow barefooted and wrestle these 100-pound German Shepherds over a rabbit. And so finally the rabbit tries squeezing through the fence. I'm like, how did this dumb rabbit get back here if it can't get out? And it's got half of its body through the fence. The back half with his tail is still sticking where the dogs are trying to, like, I don't know, rip it apart, I guess. Not really. They're like, you can't really tell what they're doing, but they're definitely being aggressive. Anyway, the rabbit gets through the fence. It's hopping away a little wonky because, the dogs were definitely being mean to it. Carrie goes out there and finds some rabbit hair, but no blood. So we don't think they punctured him. They probably just, it probably hurt itself just trying to squeeze through that little slat in the fence. But we think if a hawk doesn't get it, it should recover. Anyway, felt bad for that little bunny. When I was a kid, I would mow my grandma's lawn for her, and this one time the grass was particularly large or tall, and as I was mowing the grass in her backyard, all of a sudden I'm pushing, and I stop, and I look down where my feet are, and I ran over a rabbit hole, like when there were baby bunnies in there, and this is where it's going to get a little graphic, so I apologize. You might want to turn the stream off now. One of the baby rabbits, like half of its head was gone because it was a lawnmower, and it was still alive, just doing these weird motions like, oh shit. I love animals. I felt so bad. It's like, oh shit, what do I do? Do I grab a shovel and put it out of its misery? But I could see it was obviously suffering. Who knows how much, because its brain wasn't really there anymore. So it's like, oh, I'm just gonna run back over it. So I reversed it, and just all these rabbit parts started flying everywhere. I still feel terrible to this day. And this one time, and I want you to know, for every story I have about me hurting an animal on accident, there's a story of me rescuing an animal. Both my dogs are rescues. I used to stop on the side of the road to pick up, like, I don't know why, but old people are kind of sadistic. They like to drop off their pets that they can no longer care for on the side of a country road and leave them there to die for the most part. Like, that's messed up, bro. At least take them to a shelter or something. If you don't have a family member, that will help them out. So on my way to, when I was a teacher, a couple of times I'd have to stop out in the country and pick up a stray dog that was left on the side of the road. It was heartbreaking. With this one time when I was coming back from college, I was driving down the freeway. I was going like 70 or 75 miles an hour. And I think at the time it might have been 65, whatever. And this chocolate lab from a nearby farm obviously wasn't gated or leashed up or anything, just people letting their dogs wander, letting their dogs run, freaking out of nowhere on the freeway, pops out from behind this guardrail on the side of the road, and no time to react. I'm going 70, 75 miles an hour. I jerked the wheel, and I had just graduated my first police academy, so I had done defensive driving, pretty good at it too, to toot my own horn. So I end up jerking the wheel. You're not supposed to do this. If you're going to hit a deer, hit it head on. Don't jerk the wheel. But it was a dog, and I knew in that half second I had that it was a dog. And again, I love animals, especially dogs. Jerked the wheel, did like 2 360s on the freeway. Somehow I didn't roll my car. I don't know. Maybe it was really loaded down. I don't know. But 2 360s, I was jerking it back, trying to get control of it. Brought it back around. I ended up going backwards off the side of the road, but then brought it to a stop. Didn't hit any other cars, didn't go on the opposite side of the freeway and hit any cars, didn't hit any fences or anything. By the time I got home, all my tires were flat for the most part. I think the next day I went out to my car and like all my tires were flat. But anyway, the dog's head hit my right bumper, and I heard him go, yeah, I heard him yelp, and then he was done and he was dead. And I was so pissed. I wanted to grab his body off the freeway, put it in my trunk, take him to the nearby farmhouse and be like, look what your irresponsible pet ownership did to your dog. But I didn't know for sure if it was theirs or not. So it's just things in my life I'll never forget, because again, I love animals so much. And so the moral of the story is, if the apocalypse ever happens, I'm going to starve to death. Or someone else is going to have to hunt my food for me, because I do like eating meat. I just don't like seeing how the cow's butchered. How do we get on this topic anyway? You guys are weird. All right, I'm going to catch up on chat really quick, and then I'm going to call it for this one. Get the rest of my day started. Oh, Keith, your brother is a reservist. Still a reservist, okay. Navy Reserve. You almost went Air Force. Preach. Far right is nominal, Kev. These days, that's absolutely correct, dude. If you still identify with the Democrat Party, you are as far from center as possible. You have gone into communist, red fascist territory, especially if you agree with what Trudeau's done. If you call yourself a liberal, though, and a lot of the things I've said today you can agree with, then we can be friends. We can be friends. Again, it's progressives are the only ones I have a problem with. Nothing progressive about you. You're just trying to repeat the bad parts of history. Oh, here's a familiar face. Old Man Gibb. Young people, yeah. Sorry to call out the old people there. Old Man Gibb. Young people are equally messed up. Trust me, I know. Last week, a mother abandoned her 5-year-old non-speaking autistic son 75 miles from her house. That's, yeah. Dude, totally. Oh, man. When I read, it's heartbreaking to read stories. I get so nervous, like, reading the news these days, especially, like, mainstream news. I get so nervous because the last thing I want to read about is how, like, someone was abusing their child or beheaded their child. That just happened. Or beat a puppy to death. Like, these are the kind of stories I'll never forget. They stay, like, I have a crappy memory, but for some reason, these jolting stories stay with me, and it's so messed up because I would like to remember like the really good stuff, and like I do, but it's always these really bad things stick with me. Like, I still remember the day that I read a story about, and this had to have been 7-8 years ago. I was working, but I just quickly glanced at my phone to read a story, and about how this like 12-week-year-old puppy was beaten to death by a group of teenagers. I was like, what the fuck, dude? Yeah, some people are just. It reminds me of the quote from Batman, The Dark Knight, where Alfred's like, some people just want to watch the world burn. Like, some people out there, dude, what do you do with them? What do you do with them? Yeah, Fred, true about animals and motorcycles. Sucks big time. So I told this story before. And sorry, I'm relaxing in this chair again. I fell down the stairs, so I couldn't sit on the stool very easily today. So I'm doing this more of a unprofessional way. But I told the story before. When I was when I got out of the military and I was coming back home to Ohio from San Diego, I bought my first motorcycle. Now I did like a week of lessons when I got my license, and I bought my motorcycle. I had about 5 days to, ride it and practice on it. And then I took the thing from San Diego down to, or I guess over to Ohio, where I'm from. And the guys I bought my motorcycle from were taking wagers if I'd survive or not. But I remember this one time. I did the whole trip in 42 hours. I only slept for 4 hours in a hotel. Very irresponsible. It was the first time I had a 5-hour energy drink, because after the first night, I was so exhausted on my motorcycle. I was like, I'm not going to make it, dude. So I grabbed a 5-hour energy from a gas station, because I only stopped every 100 miles to refill. Grabbed a 5-hour energy drink, and I was on it, dude. I was like, these things are amazing. And I'll never forget it. I had a great time. I had an earphone in one of my ears, and I was listening to my music when I was driving through the Rockies. I was outrunning a storm on my crotch rocket. It was a crotch rocket. It wasn't a cruiser. It was a crotch rocket. So yeah, I feel sorry for my testicles. It was so much fun though. But there was this one time I was on this country road, this back road, and this was before the days of GPS really. So I think I had. It wasn't Google Maps. What was it before Google Maps, when you would actually print out, I can't remember the website, but you would print them out, the directions, and I had them somehow secured. I think it was through like a tank bag onto my motorcycle, so I could see where I needed to go. And I was on this back road, and it was dark out, and I had my brights on, like you're supposed to do on a motorcycle. And I remember this road stretched for miles and miles, and it's pitch black out. I just kept passing sign after sign that said deer crossing, and I'm going 70 miles an hour on my crotch rocket. I have my helmet on. I have a full body suit on, a protective body suit on, gloves, boots, everything. But I'll never forget how scared I was. Like any second now, a deer or even a raccoon could just come out right in front of me, and I'd be so screwed. Yeah, motorcycles and animals do not mix, man. Street Stripes and Maps. MapQuest, that's it. Thank you, MapQuest. You guys remember the MapQuest days? Does MapQuest still exist? I bet it does. I'm gonna look it up really quick. MapQuest. Oh, it's like the Ask Jeeves days, right? Yep, it's still around. I don't know if Ask Jeeves is though. MapQuest. Does anybody still use MapQuest? It's so crazy how fast technology changes these days. Like, do you remember the GPS units? Some of you probably like old man Gib. No, I'm gonna call you out, bro. But some people probably still use them. The GPS units you actually suction cupped onto your windshield. Those lasted for like during my college years, and then they were gone. Right, about 4 or 5 years they were the thing, and then people just started using their phones. As well as portable DVD players. Do you remember those? Those were relevant for about a handful of years, and those were no mas. Keith Mabe still has one from the 90s. Yeah, I remember when we had DVDs, and then Blu-ray became a thing, and I think it was competing with another type of hardware. But I was like, Blu-rays are not going to be a thing. I'm not going to buy any Blu-rays because they're basically just like DVDs. That's not going to be the next thing. And it turns out Blu-ray was the next big thing, but now who even buys Blu-rays anymore, right? It's all digital. I mean, I guess you could still buy Blu-rays for nostalgic sake. Maybe you just like having the collection in your room, but same with video games. Like now you can just download them from the cloud. Who knows what it's going to be in another 5 years. What's going on, Poland? Appreciate you guys sticking around. I think we went long enough. Hell, we probably could figure out if the satellite's deployed correctly by now. See if SpaceX has twatted anything. Nope, they haven't said yet. We're going to call it there. Appreciate you. Thanks for the tips, guys. Thanks for the support. Thanks for watching. Our next live stream will be on Rumble. So if you haven't subscribed over there, there's a link in the description below. go ahead and subscribe on Rumble and join up on Locals as well. You can do it for free if you wish, and you'll get emails for every live stream that's coming your way. Okay. All right, bros and broskies. I guess that's the female version for broskies now. Have a nominal week, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for our next episode of SpaceX in the News. Until that time, right-handed. Dan, that left-handed thing it's got me bad habits, bro. Godspeed.